I'm rebuilding an FCS school today, which is already a challenge in itself, but I'm throwing them in a super conference too. And every year, the top 15 schools from the previous season will get to play in this prestigious new conference. It's gonna make rebuilding Florida A&M very hard, as we're starting as just a 62 overall team, but I'll be going until the Rattlers lift that national championship trophy. I'm also gonna restrict myself to only recruiting in Florida, but if you've poured a lot of hours into this game, you would know that is not the hardest thing in the world. We're gonna find guys like these 3-star gym receivers with 97 speed, then there's this running back with 93 speed. Everybody from Florida is fast. And even better, we have Malik German, who's a 91 speed quarterback with 96 throw power. I want to get either him or this 4-star. He's the only 4-star I have on our board. We're also going to be chasing butts. We're going to try and get a smoker, and we're going to even go after the Pope. RIP to him. But what's going to be interesting is if they're going to consider Florida A&M because our school grades are so bad. Our conference grade lifts us a little bit, but whenever this is the team that's going to be playing against those programs, we're going to be in trouble. And I don't mind Cedric Holmes III as our starting quarterback for the first few seasons. He only has normal development, but if you take a look at his skill caps, he could become extremely accurate. That's like the only part of the team I'm excited about from the start, though. We're going to play against in-city rivals Florida State. And if you take a look at a map, these schools are literally across the street from each other. As bad as Florida State was, though, last season, I'm afraid they're going to run Tallahassee for the time being. By the end of the third quarter, it is 35-0, and we just need to have something go our way. We have finally been able to force them into a mistake, and this could be our chance to get points up on the board, except this kid's going to be able to catch us. That better not have been Brock Glenn cutting us off. I wanted to get something positive with the Rattlers. And as you can see, statistically, we have 50 yards of offense. This really shows the struggle that some FCS schools can have going up to FBS. And it's not like Florida A&M was prepared for it either. I just decided they were going to be in this conference. They're going to be on a hard spot all season. At least we'd end up scoring a field goal, which I feel good about. We weren't held scoreless. That would have been more embarrassing. But we did let Roydell Williams rush for over 200 yards. And with that in mind, if there was any game on the rest of our schedule I feel like we could come out on top of, it's going to be against Louisiana Monroe. That means we're just going to be simming over the next couple weeks. And as you can see, whether I hop into the game or not, this team's going to lose. Even against another in-state opponent, USF, I don't have any hope. But maybe I should have, because we only lost this one by 3. That was a shock for me to see. Louisiana Monroe has not won a game this season either. And I really just want us to have some offensive success, which we're starting to. I also have to say, all of Florida A&M stuff just looks so sick. I've been waiting to use this school as an HBCU for a while, and I couldn't wait any longer for college football 26. I think we're going to be able to tie things up. I do think they have one of the cleanest jerseys and designs at the FCS level, though. I will stand on that. But if you're not a fan of the orange and green combo, it's going to seem like a crazy claim. As this game's gone on, we've made sure that we are staying in it. On 3rd and 6, we're able to roll out, find Maddox, and we're going to be going all the way to like the 30. So we might actually not go winless during our first year. You gotta love that, though. We were not having like any awareness. And our kicker is not good enough to hit from this far out, which means we're gonna have to go for it on 4th and 14. But Holmes III sees the open space and he is down inside the 10. Just like that, we have been saved by the sophomore quarterback again. And I almost just want to let him try and run it in himself as the blocks look good. There we go. Florida A&M's taking a lead with a minute left. And it is on the Rattlers defense to close this one out, which is going to be a challenge. We might just need to control Chambers over the middle and see if we're able to bait them into an interception. But they're sending a lot of routes in this direction, and if they take their check down, I was like 2 seconds late to it. We missed tackles. Come on, boys. It is important to make sure you're always wrapping up. They almost had a touchdown right there. Singleton is a very large safety. Pretty sure I moved him over from like defensive line to play here all the time in the world, and they still couldn't find anyone. This is really it. 8 seconds left on the clock. That's not going to fool me. You can throw it between the uprights. And I think it's best if we take ourselves off of the deep safeties, because I don't trust myself, though they just won on the last play. There is no way that is how we're going to lose. If you are an avid Florida A&M fan, I am so sorry. You're going to have to wait a little bit longer to see the Rattlers win, and I am not happy with how these recruiting battles are going, not because we're not in the lead, but because I can't hard sell on these players. The grades are so bad. We basically just have to keep simming and hope that they eventually commit over other schools, especially since I decided I wanted to be a motivator for this run and not go down the recruiter pathway. This might turn into a pretty long rebuild. We're about to play the other green and orange school from the state of Florida, and after that that moment, we had to start conference play in our super conference where we have just taken L after L. We couldn't score on Tennessee. BYU dropped 69 points on our head. And for as many beatings as we've taken so far, I'm surprised only a few players are on the injury report. Very few things about this season are going well. We couldn't even get the Pope. He went to FAU instead. We did get a couple of the gyms that I wanted as 3 stars. But the more important part is who's going to be throwing the ball to 97 speed Noah Witt. That would be Malik German. We are so close to getting him from Coastal Carolina. And then for this 4-star quarterback, he's going to choose between Miami and Florida. The only way we stood a chance here is if he somehow cared about conference prestige and getting playing time. But he didn't, and he's also just watched us lose game after game. One thing I do find interesting is our quarterback wants to transfer out because of playing style, but he's the starter. It's his fault that our playing style isn't where he wants it to be. He simply isn't throwing for enough passing yards, but that has caused us to get locked out of the 4-star quarterback, and Malik German chose Coastal Carolina over us. I honestly thought the 96 throw power, 91 speed QB was just a lock from the start, but it turns out he wasn't, and if Cedric Holmes doesn't start throwing for more passing yards, then we're going to have no quarterbacks. I really don't want to have to start either of our backups next season. They're going to be seniors as well, but that is looking more and more likely, and there's no chance for us in these final few games either. We're currently sitting at the bottom of our conference, and the top 15 teams at the end of this season are who's going to be in it next year, so that's why this poll is very important. By the end of the season, this shakeup in college football caused teams like Texas to go 6-6. And that was not the only shock. Ohio State also went 6-6, Ole Miss 4-8, Notre Dame 5-7, so it's going to be interesting to see where college football is like 10 years into this file. We have nothing else to look forward to this season because we're not in a bowl game. We didn't win a single game. Cedric Holmes threw twice as many interceptions as touchdowns. Not really a surprise there. But I will point out, Micah Zimmerman, our junior running back, had 5.2 yards per carry. That is very solid. We just need to get him some help on the offensive line. And I did make the mistake of forgetting to fire my coordinators in the first season. That is something I always do. It's okay though. I don't think we were going to be that competitive next year either way. And it's time to reveal who is going to be in our conference next season. We're going to have teams like Alabama, USC, Clemson, Oregon, Missouri, Penn State, Georgia, LSU, Florida State's even going to be a part of it. And we're really going to need the transfer portal to work out for us because Cedric Holmes III has just left with zero chance of persuading him to come back. As we go into the off-season recruiting period, there were a couple other battles that we lost, which means we only have 10 3-stars signed. And I thought we were going to have plenty of options to choose from here in the transfer portal, but we don't. I also just reminded myself that for whatever reason, I can only recruit out of the state of Florida. I put that restriction in place, so we're going to have to hope that some of these 3-star quarterbacks still available are good. I didn't really have the hours available to scout all 3 of them, so after seeing that Brian is just average, we're going to take him off the board. We're going to go after these 2 quarterbacks, hope that one of them turns out to be good, and if I go up here, you'll see there's a lot of players that we're just going to hope sign for us. If you didn't know, whenever signing day hits, if you're in first place for a player and you've offered them a scholarship, they should just commit to your school. You don't have to fill up their entire recruiting process. And that's the process I had to go with the hope of signing as many players as possible. Now, it didn't work for every single guy. You're going to see that we lost out on quite a few battles, but I think we got a class of about 25 players. And for our first season as an FCS school in a super conference, to pull in a top 50 class, I'll take it. As you can see too, every single player is from the state of Florida. We're going to keep that true throughout this entire video. It also shouldn't have, but our gamble with these 2 quarterbacks paid off. Dom Ruse, he has normal development. We're going to ignore him, but Gabriel Rout has star dev. This is what we wanted. He actually has a better dev trait than the 2 super fast gyms we recruited at the beginning of the year I was so excited about. Then, as a tradition, anytime I recruit a run stopper, right or left end, we're just going to move them to defensive tackle to get that overall boost. Plus, it's always nice to recruit a physical athlete so you can take their 92 speed and move them over to tight end. Is the team that we got going into next season going to be good? Absolutely not, but it is making a little bit of progress forward. And it is time to rearrange this conference with the top 15 teams from last year. If you compare this to the teams we faced last season, I'd say this is just as hard, if not a little bit harder. We have Clemson, Georgia, SMU, Penn State, and Oregon, all teams that stayed, I think. And as I was looking at this abysmal schedule, it just hit me that there is no spot where it indicates your strength of schedule on this game. I don't know how EA left that out. It is what it is, though. Gabriel Rout, as a true freshman, is going to be starting for us. 67 overall, the best quarterback we have on this roster. I just need his accuracy to actually develop throughout his career. To make that happen, though, we're going to spend our first coach points in the motivator tab. We're going to go all the way down to tier 4. I want him to perform at an extremely high level. And then for the other 55 coach points that we've saved up, I think we're going to unlock the recruiter tree, but I'm not sure which positions I want to put extra points into yet. It really all just depended on what recruits I found that I wanted to have a chance at landing, and we shouldn't be going after 4 stars at this point in the rebuild, but we're going to. So I'm going to go down to tier 3, always be recruiting, which allows us to increase increase weekly recruiting hours for running backs and then linebackers as well. We're going to see if we can land 3 4-stars. Outside of Jim George Oswam, though, at running back with his 91 speed, 87 trucking, I'm really not too excited about anything in this class. Even Bradbury isn't the best quarterback in the world. These receivers are decent, but they're not Jim's, which is what we really want to see. And Florida is the team that we're opening up our season against. I think we were supposed to play them to end the season, but what I've noticed is whenever you rearrange the conferences, the schedules get super glitched out. And I just had to accept that we were not going to take down the Gators. As for Gabriel Rout, this is an awful way to open up your career, but it was a tough game for him. 32% completion percentage. And all I'm saying is he better not pull out a performance like that against an FCS school. So far, I'd say things have been going decently well. He certainly is not the most accurate quarterback in the world, but he has been able to lead us down the field a few times. We've scored 14. And I have no issue with being aggressive because I want to run away with this game. I've also realized why I think I like Florida A&M's jersey designs and all that so much. Growing up, my dad was a Dolphins fan. He had a bunch of retro Dolphins stuff laying around, and I really liked their old design back in like the 90s before they went soft. They used to have a better color scheme. They had a more aggressive Dolphin, and then they came up with what they have today. And I'm not sure why they ever made that change, but the Rattlers have that same type of style. I was so excited to talk about it. We ended that first half in the worst of ways possible. But fortunately, we were always meant to win this game. We don't have the fastest quarterback in the world, but Route does put us in the right positions, and then we just need a little bit of blocking help. It is sad to know that after this performance, we're going to have a bunch of hard matchups. Probably getting no more wins the rest of the year. But that's okay. It might take a while, but we will eventually save Florida A&M. Micah Zimmerman still averaging about 5 yards per carry too. Next up on our schedule is number 2 USC. So this is where we run into problems. We get a game that's more manageable, and then we have to face off against a powerhouse, but Ohio is also on our schedule, so we do have one more easier opponent. Unfortunately, I couldn't get any of these guys on visits beforehand, but I could schedule them for a bye week visit in week 7. I'm also hoping that we can hard sell. I think we'll be able to with George. There's just one thing he doesn't like about our school, and it's our playing style. If Zimmerman can rush for a lot of yards against Ohio, though, that might change. And we have not scored a single point in this first half. Plus, we're taking a sack after holding, so we cheated. Still didn't do enough. But I still have faith in this team. We're gonna hopefully be able to get somebody open right here. That was a laser. And if you want the honest truth, I was throwing it whether it was open or not. That strong finish to the first half has carried us in the second half as well. They've not been able to stop us since that first touchdown, but Zimmerman is literally rushed for like 20 yards. He is averaging less than 2 yards per carry, but it's okay. We take a 3-possession lead, and we would maintain that all the way until the final play, so we're gonna go out winning 35-14. Gabriel Rout had the best game of his career so far, and to give us a better chance at landing a couple of these 4-stars, I'm gonna schedule them for that week 7 visit. It's gonna be a playing time pitch. That's what's gonna work on these two. We actually have some really good school grades for this linebacker, but I don't think we're gonna land the 3rd 4-star. That's okay though. It's just all about building momentum. It will eventually snowball. We just have to get through the first 4 to 5 years of struggle first, which can be a process. This is exactly what I love to see though. We have a 4-star Jim committing to Florida A&M, and we were able to sign Matthias Oregon alongside him as well. Of course, Florida took this prospect, and then UCF took a 95 speed receiver from us. They're trying to take another too, but I think it's going to keep working out for us. You will see on our schedule though, we have lost our next few games as well, which puts us at 2-6. If we don't win out, it's impossible to make a bowl, and that was never something I even thought would be possible in this season anyway. But it doesn't hurt to see if you can upset the number 1 team in the country. What happened though was we wore black to our own funeral. We have struggled against Kansas State. We held them here, but they have no fear. They're going for it on 4th and goal, and they trucked their way in. I should have probably known that this one was going to be ugly, but it's okay. Maybe we'll get lucky in one of our final matchups, or we're just going to finish the season 2-10. From here, all I'm going to care about is signing as many 3-stars from Florida as possible. And if we take a look at the conference standings, I would say there are not as many surprises this year as there were last season. Nobody really underperformed. It was just a competitive conference that we had to play in. And I will be closely watching how this top 15 shakes out, because I would love a team like North Texas and Boise State, even FIU, to sneak in there so we have some easier opponents next season. We're just going to have to get lucky with that though. I will say Gabriel Rout was a great signing. He threw for more touchdowns than interceptions as a freshman, so he's already the best quarterback that we have had so far. But our senior running back Micah Zimmerman took a step back, averaging less yards per carry. At least he got some touchdowns this year, and we did not have a freshman receiver in our top 3. I probably should have redshirted some guys that I didn't, but we have remembered that we can fire our coordinators, so we're going to be getting some new coaches in here. And the first one is going to be D'Angelo Hearns as our offensive coordinator. He's going to be a tactician and motivator mix. Then on the defensive side of the ball, I wanted to go with Colin Montgomery just because he is going to give us a boost to recruiting as well. I just value having tacticians more than anything else because it will help us in the long run with our stats. They make us play better on the field, which is exactly what we need. Tennessee won it all. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but Mississippi State is one of those top teams that's going to be joining our super conference next year. So is North Texas. We're starting to get a little bit more variety. You're going to see that we have a lot of starters that are graduating. That might hurt our team for 1 year, but in the long run, we've been bringing in better younger talent anyway, and they're actually giving us access to the portal this season. What I unfortunately realized though is even though these players seem great, especially these two receivers, they both had Shifty. We're going to have to remove them from our board because they're not from the state of Florida. I should have never thrown that extra restriction in there whenever I was filming the intro. I wasn't planning on it. Now we can only go after up to 22 targets. And I'm sure along the way, we're going to lose at least a few battles. At least we were able to start the class off getting a couple 4-stars. Wake Forest stole away a left end from us. Georgia was able to take away this athlete, and that is going to be it. So 20 total prospects, but 2 of them are special teams. And I wonder if this class is going to be ranked higher than our last one. It is. It's coming in at 41. That's the difference a couple of higher ranked recruits can make. Again, all from the state of Florida. And I will say, everybody's dev traits have been extremely disappointing so far, but for George, the running back, it is our first guy with elite dev. We could technically put Awasin at a different position as well. He doesn't have to be a running back. It's just his best one, which is why we're going to stick with it. And clearly, I should have been paying a bit more attention to our offensive line because I just realized next season, we only have 6 players that are going to be on it. The only good thing about the offseason is you normally end up leveling up quite a bit. And our team overall has jumped up to an 81 with a lot of those sophomores progressing pretty quickly. This is exactly what I wanted to see out of Gabriel. He's jumped up to an 81 himself with his accuracy being incredible. Besides his deep throw accuracy, that could still use some work. And it is time to say goodbye to a lot of teams in this conference, but for the second season in a row, Clemson and Georgia are going to stay a part of the Super Conference again. I'm pretty sure Oregon's been a part of it every season as well. This is what the new look Super Conference is going to be for this next year. And I really haven't been paying too much attention to who we get on our schedule because I know either way, it's going to just be a struggle. But as you can see, North Texas is not on here. I was really hoping we could get them so we'd have a chance at winning our first conference game. I'm going to go through and redshirt any freshman that's not starting as well. Should have done it last year. But either way, it's not like the team that we currently have is going to be championship contenders in a few years. We're going to have to recruit better, and I'm still going to look at some 4-stars, even if we should be going after 3-stars only. I have a little bit of a problem. There's just something that is a lot more enjoyable about trying to chase those players you shouldn't land versus going after the ones you know that you can. I want this power rusher. We're putting 75 hours a week into him. And is he even that special? Not really, just 81 speed, but I want to beat out Miami. Also, 94 speed on KJ Pope. We're finding some good running backs. Outside of that, there were a couple 3-star gyms also on our board. Cordell Cutting at quarterback is one of them. He is field general as a freshman. But if anything, besides those few prospects, I just need to recruit a lot of offensive linemen. I'm going to try to not forget about doing that. And you might be wondering why we're playing an FCS school as one of the 3 games that I can hop into this year. It is a little bit of a waste, but I wanted to see what Awasim could do. I also wanted to make sure we didn't start the season rough because as you can see, it's actually been an extremely competitive matchup where we almost picked that ball. Now, offenses have been so bad that they punted with a few minutes left on 4th down. They just trust that they're going to be able to stop us one more time, and honestly, I can't blame them, but it's going to be a challenge. Our biggest struggles in this game have come from my turnover mistakes, not from moving the ball. It's going to come as a shock, but I've had a few pretty blind reads against them, and that is why it has taken us all the way until this moment to seal the game if we stay in bounds. That just opened up the door for them to have a little bit more hope as it's going to be 4th and 2. But as long as we drill this field goal, I think we're going to be able to put this game away. It's coming close to missing. We should not give up a touchdown from 70 yards back. If they're able to even throw it that far, I would be shocked. It's going to come about 20 yards short. But what does this result say about the season the Rattlers are about to have? We lost a lot of seniors with experience that helped our offense last year, and I really think that is going to show whenever we take on the Wolverines. It's actually worse than I thought it was going to be. We scored 0 points, and it even affected our recruiting. We were in the running to get a 94 speed 6'4 receiver, but then we got the deal breaker for playing style, and there's no way to unlock this. We'd have to throw for hundreds of yards in this next game. Wake Forest is also beating us out for the 3-star gym on our offensive line, so not a good start to building out an offensive line. And I think it might be time that we go back into the recruiter tree and we put some extra points into offensive linemen just to give us a chance at signing some better ones. I am also going to go down the tactician route for a little bit and make our quarterback throw the ball a bit better. We can boost his short and medium accuracy with the 4th tier. And it really is just frustrating that on the one player we have good pitches for, we still aren't going to win that battle. So far using Florida A&M, only recruiting out of Florida, there's been some issues. And normally I wouldn't hop into a game against a school like Louisiana Tech, but if you compare them as an opponent versus some of the other ones we're facing, they're the easiest. When I saw that they were still an 84 overall team, I knew we had to play it. And I am extremely proud of what our defense has been able to do so far. On 4th down, they just hang on. But even if that led to them scoring, we'd respond back with a touchdown of our own, and on 4th and 14, they're not going to pick up another long 4th down. It's over. I like what I'm seeing so far. We played well through all 4 quarters, scoring a touchdown in each one. But the real question's going to be, how are we going to do when we sim again? Another thing that's really thrown me off is I think we just won on Sean Humphreys when we were losing last week. That's exactly who it was. It was the Jim right tackle. Somehow Wake Forest ended up losing this battle. I'm not sure how we overcame, but that's what I like to see. We're just going to have to take DeAndre Reese off of our board. He's going to have that deal breaker forever, and we're still in the running to get both of these 4-stars. We are making some progress, all until the Longhorns beat us by 40. Except it actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. However, it was enough to show that we wasted 75 hours a week trying to get this kid right out of Miami. We should have known he was going to become a hurricane. And that leaves us with 1 4-star left on our board, but what if we beat the number 5 team in the country? We tried this last year against Kansas State, and it didn't go too well. But I don't want to count us out of this game yet. We just have struggled to score points, and on 4th down, they got a hand on it. This is now the 2nd time we have been held to 0 points this year. And it was such a bad offensive game. This is the kid that won player of the game. I think that pretty much just solidifies the rest of this season's going to be bad too. But even if we lost every other game to end the season, I'm just relieved that we never had 0 points again. I had a coach once tell me, you never want to finish a matchup with a goose egg on the scoreboard. We didn't. We just happened to finish at the bottom of our conference. There are 5 teams in it that are inside the top 10 that could all be back next year still. And taking a look at the top 15 going into conference championship week, Tulane could be nice to have in the conference, but next year's, without Charlotte getting in potentially, it's going to be hard. When teams like Miami can make this big of a gain in just 1 week on you for a prospect, it's really hard to ever feel like you can sign anybody. We're struggling against Wake Forest and UCF still for 3 stars. And taking a look at Gabriel Rout, he had 12 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. What happened to our offense compared to last year? I know that we lost a couple senior receivers, but I was expecting freshmen like Noah Witt with his 97 speed to just slot in fine. And then George Awesome averaged just 3.7 yards per carry, so that's a big step backwards. I almost want to say that it feels like we're just stuck right now, because we can't recruit better prospects without winning more games, but we can't win more games whenever we are facing off against the top 15 schools in the country every year. Kentucky got into the Super Conference. We must still have a motivated Mark Stoops in the building. Graduation-wise, Jalen Browning is a big loss. Outside of that, I'm not worried about it. These receivers clearly didn't do anything. And the transfer portal is gifting us a few options again, but look, none of them are from Florida, so we just have to ignore them. I am honestly so sick that I went after this kid all season, and then in 2 weeks, Miami came into the battle and just stripped him away. But we should be used to it by now. It's going to happen for Ahmed Locke as well, and we can only go after up to 20 guys. Of those final players, besides Okafor choosing Kentucky over us, we got most of them. I just don't know how we're ever going to sign a full class of 35 players. But maybe we won't need that. It just stinks that this is our 3rd year and we signed our worst class yet, but maybe next season I'll be able to get a lot of 4 stars. That's going to be my goal. We've spent a few years building up the foundation. From here on out, we just need to go after the best of the best. And it is safe to say I was not expecting this out of Gabriel Rout. He's jumped up to a 91 overall as a junior. He might declare early for the NFL draft, and this is the freshman we recruited at linebacker last year. To have a 4-star with normal dev that's already an 85 feels pretty great. He could get a lot better, especially with his pass coverage. But the important player to talk about is Gabriel Rout. He has been able to max out his accuracy already. I'm not sure why his deep throw accuracy is so bad, but we're going to have to deal with it. His quickness is the only thing that could improve next year. And one thing I've noticed about field general archetypes is they fill up accuracy the fastest, while scramblers fill up accuracy as the last thing. That makes me think I should probably be going after field generals a lot more. Maybe that's what we need to win games in the Super Conference, because unless we get Charlotte or Kentucky on the schedule, I think we're going to go winless in conference play again. And that's why I'm really hoping to see some of those names on this schedule. I see my Wildcats, but I do not see Charlotte. That's okay though. I have found 3 gyms in recruiting I really would love to land. JoJo Pride as a gym at free safety, and then these 2 receivers. One of them is shifty, one of them's just really fast with his 98 speed. And the reason I'm able to put more hours into those players than ever before at those positions is because I spent 30 coach points unlocking Always Be Cruton for receivers and also corners. I guess just defensive backs in general. We're going to open up the year against an FCS school. And here's the thing, since we have a 91 overall quarterback, I'm expecting more success. That win's great and all, but I'd much rather go on the road at 0-2 Iowa State and beat them, especially since this team finished inside the top 10 last year. If there's anything I've been able to pick up from this game, it's that our defense is going to be incredible all season. And I was not expecting to get an interception right off the rip right there. We can run out the clock. We just need to get 1 first down and we would open up this year 2-0. But it's not going to come from us running the ball. If that corner is on Witt, he's going to have them beat deep. And I don't know who is supposed to be manned up on him, but this is how we're going to put the Cyclones away. It just feels great to have full control over this game because of how well we have played on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, they're just consistently throwing us interceptions. We can't score a touchdown. Not out of that at least, but this is the best way we've opened up a year yet. I will be very interested to see if we can maintain this throughout the entire season, especially since previously, if we faced an opponent like Bowling Green, I feel like I would have to play it in order to beat them. Apparently, though, I still do because they just took us down 37-20. I can only imagine that the Trojans are probably going to drop like 50 points on our head. And on top of that, I think I'm going to have to pull out Alani Prude because Miami is making a huge comeback on him. I really just don't know how to describe how disappointed I feel at the moment because we lost by 7 to USC expected, but the 5-point loss to Middle Tennessee also hurts. And we went from looking like the future was bright to falling off so quickly. Not only should I have taken Lonnie Prude off of our board, but I shouldn't have kept going after James either. Both of these kids are the fastest receivers in the state and their gyms. They would be amazing. It just wasn't meant to be this season. Way too early for that, though I think we are going to work out a couple of these corners coming to our school. I just can't blame guys for not being as interested once they saw us go on a 4-game losing streak. And if we were ever going to be able to rebound back from this, it would be by beating #1 Kentucky at Kroger Field. I really don't want to do this to my Wildcats, but it's not like we have a good chance anyway. Or maybe we do. I've seen Kentucky struggle in games like this before. We're going to be able to turn up field and make it inside the 40. It's tied up at just 10 with 3 minutes left, but this is the opportunity we've been waiting for. And not using a scrambling quarterback can be so challenging for me sometimes. We're going to see if we can get this to work as well for us. The blocking did not hold up. And this is that type of position where you would love to just settle for 3 after running out all of the clock. But here's the thing. We can't run out all of the clock unless we make a catch right here, which we do. Even then, they still have timeouts left, but that was such a well-placed ball. A great way to bring it in. And I'm starting to love this sophomore running back. Here's the thing though, our defense still needs to hang on in these final seconds. They've been able to take it inside the 35. And I no longer feel comfortable controlling those safeties, though they baited me. I'm going straight back to taking over a deep blue instead. I just can't give up the touchdown. I've given up a last-second touchdown in this spot before. But what happened against Louisiana Monroe a few years ago is not going to happen again. We just took down the #1 team on the road. What did I say as well? That's what it's going to take to get some of these 4 stars to be more open to coming here again. So even if we messed up with these 2 receivers choosing Miami over us and Florida was able to get a corner, we still got a few. And on top of these 3 defensive backs, I could still get Leo Marshall. No one else is going after the 4-star 6'5 receiver. And I also found Deshaun Ford, a quarterback that's a gym with magician. If you haven't noticed already, each season I like to recruit a quarterback, hoping that one of them can shoot up in development for us as a surprise sometime. And I can still hop into 1 game this season, but I have to choose it wisely since we might be bowl eligible. It'll really just depend how we finish out the rest of the year. We have not been able to win conference games, let alone 2 of them before. And as we continue to lose, I can't help but think back early on in the year when we lost to Bowling Green and Middle Tennessee. If we just won those 2 games, all we'd have to do is win 1 more and we would have made a bowl. Instead, I feel like there's no hope. We're not going to win these final 3. And what is the purpose of having a 91 overall quarterback if your team still stinks? We really beat the #1 team in the country who finished 7-5 and then never won again. Oregon took us down, Texas A&M took us down. And for a college that was once mid-table in our super conference, we finished at the bottom, but not as bad as Charlotte. The top 25 is also looking a little bit weaker than it has in recent memory, so this could be a good sign for next year if these teams stay in it. Plus, we were able to close out 1 more battle for Leo Marshall. I was surprised that Florida State didn't come in at the last second and take him away from us, but we're figuring things out. I do really think we messed up firing our coordinator the year that we did, though, because the season that we had our old one, that was when Gabriel Rout had his best season whenever it came to touchdown passes. Now we just aren't doing as well offensively. But George took a step forward with his yards per carry, and some of our receivers are starting to get a little bit better. There really wasn't anything too exciting throughout those stats, though. I am excited looking at this bracket, seeing teams like Buffalo, TCU, Pittsburgh, anyone else I want to call out. Just teams that aren't typically the highest overall at this point in the dynasty. Florida won it all, but we're going to have Iowa in our conference next year. We're also going to have Arizona State again. They're just in 82. We're going to have Illinois, UNLV. But as excited as I'm starting to get, these are the types of seasons we've been having while our in-city rival was just able to win a national title. I want to pass up Florida State with Florida A&M, but we've just been hit with a shock. There is no chance that Gabriel Rout out wants to come back. He has decided he is gone at the 6th round. He does not care. He wants to be gone. And this really speaks volumes about the Rattlers right now, because normally if a quarterback's declaring for like the 5th round, they will instantly come back to your school. I mean, it is going to bump up our pro potential to a C, but that's not as high as it could have been if he just stayed around for another year. Conference prestige is all we have going for our pitches. And of the 3 transfers we can recruit this year, one of them's from Florida. He's a 2-star freshman receiver. I have no idea how good he could be, but we have not been able to get a transfer yet, so we're going to go after him along with some of these other players. And of course, for a few of those prospects, we just weren't able to get this screen. I already removed a couple of them. Florida did steal the 2-star receiver transfer plus this center, and then we lost a couple other battles. That leaves us with just 18 players. And I was really hoping at least one of the 4 stars had elite development, but that is not going to be the case. Either way, our class is going to come in ranked 36th in the country, so this is the highest that we have ever had before. That's pretty good. And we can add Deshaun Ford to the list of quarterbacks that we hope develop, especially since we need one this season. It is also time that we move Nicholas Steven over to left tackle. I want to get our tight ends blocking stats up. They're not developing anymore from this point forward. And we are going to be starting sophomore Duvon Bradbury at quarterback after seeing these training results. He's going to have an 89 overall Jesus Faccareo to throw to. I like that. Our team is at the best it has ever been. But we would have been so much better off if we didn't have this kid and he was our backup. I can't believe that we lost our quarterback early to the NFL draft, but it's okay. He saw an opportunity to get out and he took it. We are going to spend our coach points in the tactician tree though if our team's actually going to be this good. And I can't believe that's how 90 skill points are about to be evaporated, but it is. We have maxed out almost everything. To finish off the job, we need to level up a couple more times, but we are going to need it for the new conference that we're about to be in. Depending on how our schedule is generated, I really like our chances at making it to a bowl next year. It's really just going to depend how good our new starting quarterback is, and I love how we start the year with 4 easier non-conference games, and then we get to the hard ones. I'm not sure how to feel about all this yet, besides the fact that we have Buffalo and UNLV on here. I really don't want to jinx it, but there are 6 winnable games on our schedule. Our team is also so young still, so I think we're going to keep on shooting for 4 stars. Maybe we'll even try to go after a 5-star. Me saying that and planting that idea into my head probably wasn't the smartest thing in the world we could have done. We have a 4-star gym at quarterback, and that's cool and all, but I found 2 5-star gyms. One is a running back, one is a 99 speed receiver. And now that I know these guys exist, I can't not put hours into them. We're going to try and land them. If that's going to go our way though, we are going to have to beat teams like FAU. And it's looking like we are about to be playing this game in a hurricane or something. Okay, never mind. I can see it now. They run out of a waterfall. I had no idea that the Owls did that. I guess their players just run underwater or something, or is that just a visual glitch? I'm not sure. We're starting this game up 14-3 though. But unfortunately, even if we did seem like we were just going to destroy them, it did not go that way. I don't love it, but we're going to have to hang on in the final seconds. They are not risking throwing straight at me, though we might end up giving this pass up. And if they get this snap off, I'm going to be so upset they don't. I don't know why they were audibling. They had no time left. And the next week, we have to play another Florida school, USF. We were able to take them down too, and then we played FCS Northwest, so we're 3-0 going into the rest of the season, though we have 3 straight road games. And what I've decided is if I'm going to land 99 speed Spencer Hepburn, we are going to have to go for the sway method, and we're going to have to convince him to care about both conference prestige and playing time. It turns out that's not a pitch though, so this is the best that we can do. And if that works, I'm a genius. If it doesn't, we probably weren't going to land them anyway. As you can see, for prospects like Barry Ferguson, we just didn't have what it takes to hard sell them the right way, and that's why we're trying to sway with these prospects. The annoying part though is sometimes it takes a couple weeks for it to actually apply. And by then you're out of the race, but at least we beat Louisiana Monroe. Now I know if we don't play this game against Pittsburgh, our winning streak's probably going to end, so we're going to hop into it. And the thought of making it to 5-0 is incredible. We've never even won 4 games in a season before, so that alone is impressive. But we are shooting even higher, and you might notice that Dom Ruse is our starting quarterback, but he's been having a good performance. That's a touchdown. We barely created enough separation to even make it happen. But the important part is we did, and Duvon Bradbury is out with a torn bicep for 6 more weeks. If anything, depending on how long he's been starting for, I would say that Dom Ruse is earning himself the starting spot. And that's with him coming in as a much lower overall. To be fair, his surrounding cast is a lot better than what we have had in years past, but he still led us to our biggest win of the season, I think. At least it is when you consider our opponent, who was ranked inside the top 25. After weeks of trying to sway these 5-star prospects, though, that they should care about some of these other pitches, they just haven't cared at all. Maybe it's because they're 5 stars and they're like not willing to sway their interest for a small school. But you can see whenever we can't do anything else, it's not going any better for Barry Ferguson. We're probably going to have to take them all off of our board soon. On top of of that, Texas A&M is still ranked at 2-3, but we have no chance at being ranked at 5-0. We're about to play them on the road, pick up our first loss, which is exactly what happened, and I just assumed we'd keep on losing, so I simmed against Iowa as well, but we took them down 34-16. What that has done is it's given us enough respect to be inside the top 25. And we've only played a few conference games so far, so this is probably going to change, but we're currently 4th in the SEC. When it comes to other battles for 4 stars, though, it's just been a really unimpressive season. I think we're going to get this kid over Miami, but you can see the 5 stars, they're simply not happening. It'll have to happen another year. It could be next season if we can keep up all this winning. But UNLV, one of the teams I disrespected that I thought would be an easy win for us, turns out they are not an easy win. They beat us 41-14. That instantly dropped us out of the top 25. We're probably going to lose to the Wildcats too. And what is happening to us to end the year is just what happens whenever you play in a super conference, though we did just beat Notre Dame on the road by 3 points, and look at our games to end the season. I would like to think that if we finish 9-3, we would be in contention for a playoff spot. But we would not be in contention for a spot in the conference championship because we're sitting down here at 3-3. Florida State's at the bottom though, 3-7 after winning a natty. All I'm saying is we better not lose to the Sun Devils. Except we did. 44-41, our defense didn't show up, so it doesn't matter what happens against Buffalo. I was excited to play this game. I might still hop into it just to see if it snows. But if we're not going to get snow here and there's no shot for us to make the playoffs anymore, then it doesn't really matter what happens against the Bulls. I was actually in the process of saying we're going to be bowl eligible either way when it hit me. That is not true. If we're not like a top 10 team in our conference, they just won't give us a bowl game, which is why we needed to pick up the 4th down. And we couldn't, so we ended up losing. As that moves us down to 12th in the conference behind 11 other bowl eligible teams, that makes me think we're just not going to get a bowl game. But even with Duvon Bradbury playing in that last matchup, I put him back in there because Dom Roos had struggled in recent weeks. He had a good season, but he just couldn't get wins when we needed him to. I really thought we were about to finish with like 9 or 10 of them until I realized we're in a tough conference. Recruiting out of only Florida is going to make it very hard to be able to jump over all those teams. And speaking of recruiting, our board looks so depressing. We might be able to get 4 stars. Outside of that, we've put some 3 stars on here. But even with Timmy making it official, this is a major letdown for the class. I don't want to be happy about it, even though we should be. And that's because all I can think about is we could have had 5 stars. We also might not even be in a bowl. We'll see if anything pops up. It doesn't. Just an extremely gross way for that year to end up, especially with Miami winning a championship with players that they beat us out in recruiting for. And do you know what the worst part is? I'm seeing teams like Georgia, Alabama, Oregon, Texas all coming back to our super conference. There's no easy wins next year. I might have glossed over San Jose State, but that's about it. We're losing our best receiver, our best defensive tackle, and George Awesome is transferring out. I redshirted him so he could stick around for a couple years. That's why he wasn't on the field this year. It caused him to transfer, and look at this. We have a 4th round draft pick, so that's 2 years in a row putting somebody into the NFL. Our school grades are also starting to look better. These aren't going to land any high-end prospects, though. We'd still need to get very lucky for that, and we'll see if there's any transfers available from the state of Florida for us to go after. It looks like there is going to be at least a receiver and a strong safety and a corner. Besides probably not getting Lorenzo Pepper, I think alongside all these athletes, I should be able to get those 3 transfers, though Clemson might be able to get the receiver. And the worst part about this is it's going to come down to our school grades, which we know are not as strong as theirs. At least we were still able to sign them, though, which means we've gotten our first transfers. The class of 19 players, 2 special teamers, is not that impressive, especially since one of the only players with star development or higher is the punter. As for our class ranking, it's going to come in at 34, so it's still really high, but that is only because we went after those 4-star recruits. And I might have overdone it whenever it came to recruiting athletes. I don't realize it when I do it just to get some speed rushers, but we do happen to do that sometimes. The best part about athletes, though, is if you over-recruit on any of them, you can just move them around anywhere. Like, we're going to make a great tight end. And that reminds me about Nicholas Steven, who once was an athlete that we made tight end. He was a left tackle. Now he's going back to tight end as a 97. If we could just get Duvon Bradbury to turn into a better quarterback by moving around his position, we might actually have a great squad. And this is exactly what I wanted. When I move him back to quarterback, he's going to go from a scrambler to a field general. It was going to be really interesting to see how that helped out his accuracy, but unfortunately that skill cap is already filled up, so I doubt he's going to jump up much in overall. But he was able to upgrade his abilities a ton whenever we moved him back over there, so he has stuff like platinum sleight of hand. This team has turned out to be way better than I was ever expecting. It says it's just an 87 overall, but look how many guys we have above a 90. There's also a future at the quarterback position. Deshaun Ford as a freshman is already up to an 81, and I checked his skill caps. He's actually progressing equally across all of them, so his accuracy is he's gone up enough. Good things are coming to Florida A&M, and we finally have to make some roster cuts. It took forever for that to happen. Dom Ruse, I'm going to have to say goodbye to you. I'm sorry, buddy. And I would imagine this conference going from what it is now to what it's about to be is going to be one of the most drastic shifts we've seen in the video. Maybe I was overreacting a little bit though. There's still programs like Arkansas, Illinois, Houston, Tulane, San Jose State, and West Virginia that I feel pretty comfortable we could beat. It was just critical that most of those teams ended up on our schedule, and I am seeing at least a couple of them, so we'll see how we do with this. Although I'm not sure if we're good enough to win it all, I do believe this should be our first playoff appearance if we play well. And that should just snowball into us getting some more good prospects and then eventually getting to that national championship. Originally, when I was putting this class together, what I was most excited about was a couple of 5-star corners just because I think they'd make for some fun users, but then I found some gems and they're 4 stars, but they're so much better. Tyler Downs would make for a great receiver or tight end, 97 jumping on him. Jamison Heath, this gives us another quarterback option, 88 speed, and then we have 2 99 speed receivers that I think we could actually land this time. I am so hopeful. I'm going to try and get those players in for a visit as soon as possible. And another thing I can do is I can spend 40 coach points and make sure that we get all of our tactician boost maxed out. Now, I don't think this one's the most important one. Helping your running backs get a couple overalls doesn't make a huge difference, but I didn't plan on spending it on anything else, and this is why we're doing so well. Our coordinators have their tactician tree maxed out. That's what's caused our overall to shoot up, though I'm hoping that as we continue to sim through these weaker opponents, we don't struggle. I will say our game against Army was way too close for comfort, and then UAB, this isn't even a conference opponent. We just have a top 25 team in our non-conference schedule. This is not really what you want to see, but we do have the better team on paper, and that's why I felt comfortable simming it, where we handled them pretty comfortably, though they had more total yards of offense. Devon Bradbury's going to be putting up a show, though. He is the full keys to the offense, and I might be able to bring him in some 99 speed targets as well, which is more important to me than landing 5-star corner Larry Grubbs. We'd probably lose that battle anyway, so we're going to take resources to schedule some visits and get these guys in as soon as we possibly can. What's so weird, though, is after taking the points off of Grubbs, nothing changed in this battle, while apparently we're losing a lot more to Miami on this one. So who knows who we're going to end up actually signing. We have to get through one more week before we get to play our visit week against USF. And I'm telling you, this team is just great on paper. I've built a solid roster. We annihilated Houston. One of the 2 players that could have made it so much better, though, committed to Miami before he even came to our campus to visit. Now we really need to make sure that we win this week. And sure enough, Larry Grubbs, we're going to lose him to Miami as well. They've just been the school that takes everybody from us. All we really need to continue to stretch the defense, though, is that one deep threat. We didn't need them both. As nice as it would have been, we're going to be all right either way. We're winning by 10 in the 4th quarter. So we are extremely close to starting this year 5-0, but I dropped way too far back in the pocket. The one thing that would keep USF in this game is if they were somehow able to hold us to a field goal here, that should have been caught. And I am afraid that we're just going to have to kick our 3 unless we've been able to get behind their defense and the play action pulled them down. I'm not exactly sure what playbook I'm in right now, but I've been having a lot of fun with it on offense. We beat USF 27-10, and let's just hope that Bradbury doesn't get hurt this season. There's the signing we were looking forward to as well. This is the one I'm probably most excited about throughout this entire rebuild. We've lost so many different battles to Miami, but we can finally claim one of the top players I wanted. The next week we'd have a visit week as well, but we were not able to close out on either of these 4-star gyms. You can see how close we came to beating out Florida for Tyler Downs. So anybody that says it's just super easy to recruit on this game is lying to you. Especially if you play this game casually, it is a real challenge at smaller schools. You're going to see that we just beat Texas in sim, though. I felt comfortable simming it, and we can still hop into 2 of these final games. With our name tied for first place at the top of our super conference and also inside the top 25, I'm feeling pretty confident. And I'm about done with recruiting. I don't even think I'm going to go after anybody else because I'm just frustrated. We lost out on 2 4-stars we should have been able to get. It's annoying, but as long as we keep on winning, it's not going to matter. And I'm just hoping that we don't drop our first game of the season against the Trojans. Realistically, we shouldn't have too many problems, though they have been able to hold our offense so far in this one. And what it comes back to is Bradbury just isn't the best quarterback in the world. That pass might have worked out for us, but he's also missed some really easy ones. The halfback toss didn't fool them that much. But I'm telling you, this playbook just has fun stuff like that in here. I really need to figure out which one it is, because normally I would just rock with Clemson's and have success. But I decided I've done enough with Clemson's. It's time that I try something new, and we just got bailed out. That probably shouldn't have been PI, but we needed it because with 3.5 minutes left, we are losing this game, and I just threw it straight at him. I'm low-key panicking pretty hard right now, though USC just tried man-to-man coverage, except they had a safety back, and I didn't see him. I thought we were gone. We're going to try to get Wiggins on 3rd and 10 into a halfback screen, but we just had 0 time, so we're going to have to hit our tight end, who was able to get separation. I've been noticing that recently the halfback screens just get blown up so much unless you roll out and then you get lucky. The spin might be able to get us into the end zone. That was beautiful. And we just got to keep this up. Man-to-man coverage on our drag route. They should have picked it. I really trusted Noah Witt to get open there. He's our best receiver. I have high expectations. And on 3rd and goal from the 7-yard line, they went with man-to-man coverage, but I hit the wrong button. Our tight end, Steven, was so open in the end zone, so I'm just running it back and hoping that we actually put it there. That stadium pulse is actually affecting me. My composure in this game has not been good. For the 2-point conversion, we had a guy in motion that took forever to get this snap off, but I think we're going to scramble in. I really think we should be able to lean on our defense from here to force a stop against them. And we have everyone backed up for 4th and 21, but USC is doing something. They did not take any of their timeouts, so if this doesn't go their way, we are still going to have to pick up a first. We were honestly better off not catching that ball, but I think Steven's going to literally run straight by them, which is why we're going to go for beating them deep, and that ends it. I tried to run out the rest of the clock from there. We stumbled into the end zone. Either way, it was sealed, and that keeps our undefeated season alive for a little bit longer. Now, I really wish I didn't hop into that game against USF, because we're going to have to sim some of our final ones. And to be honest, I thought if I played, we'd lose to Alabama, so I just let the sim take care of it, and we doubled the score. What's so funny about this game, though, is we'd win that and then we would lose to San Jose State. But that didn't happen either. Sim is actually on our side right now. We're currently alone at the top of our conference as well, which makes me feel great. If you look at the top 25, we're behind Georgia, who has a loss, which is weird. I feel like undefeated in a super conference should mean we're automatically number 1, but maybe we need to prove it by beating Tennessee. We'll see what happens on the road. They're going to have a sold out crowd. It's going to be loud in here. But it seems like we are going to score the first touchdown of the game. We shouldn't have gone to the outside. I don't know what I was thinking there. That's on me, which is why we're just going to go for it on 4th and goal, and I'm going to try and make up for my mistakes. This is great pocket awareness, or outside the pocket awareness. I immediately ran straight out of it. Outside of that, though, we haven't had any huge offensive things really go in our favor. We're seeing if we can make another play on the run. I mean, this is just incredible. Devon Bradbury does not seem like the type to be able to pull stuff like this off. He isn't the best. But if he can come up clutch when we need him to, which I believe is a hidden attribute in this game, that is all that we need. Our running back's going to be open. That should be a touchdown. We have taken our 1-point lead with 5 minutes left. They ran the ball on 3rd and 11, and they're going to go all the way for a touchdown. Just absolutely ridiculous stuff. Bad tackling. I pass committed. I was ready for them to throw it, and they didn't. It's okay, though. I have a plan. We're going to use a little bit of motion, hopefully confuse them enough to bite down, and then we had them deep. It's not going to matter because our offensive line did not hold up, but we might just be able to do the same thing on this play without any trickery. That'll put us down to the 25, but we still have to score from here. Tennessee's not going to make that easy for us, that is for sure. But we're just going to go for some runs, see if we can break anything off. And look at that, we're in the end zone. Evidently, Devon Bradbury can make this stuff happen for us, so I'm putting the ball right back in his hands. He tried to fight in. And him being short there is going to really, really hurt us. Maybe we can get this run commit to work in our favor, though. 4th and inches, we're tackling them in the backfield. And they are out of timeout, so whether we pick up this 3rd and 2 or not, it's basically over, but that'll do it. We have somehow made it to 10-0. And this was not in the cards for this season. I know our roster is extremely talented, but we're just an 87, 88 overall. I didn't think that Bradbury would be able to carry us this far. Though we can't get too excited yet. We still have to sim 2 more games to finish out the year. And the one against Tulane went the exact way that we needed to. This locks us into the playoffs. We're also locked for the conference championship. I just don't know who we're going to face. And with our freshman receiver going for 250 yards against Oklahoma, we're not going to lose. All around, just a great season. Army was our closest game of the entire year. I guess Tennessee finished a little bit tighter. And the top 3 teams have all come from our super conference, though it just hit me. Georgia only played 6 conference games. I have it set in the settings where we are supposed to be playing 9. EA's just gonna have to add that to the list of things they need to fix in the next game. We still aren't guaranteed to win either of these battles for receivers, which is just mind-blowing. It's a small class, but there we go. Jermaine Frank has committed. Outside of that, though, back to the more important stuff. Our conference championship game is against Georgia. They average more points per game, and we'll see if we can actually stay undefeated. Either way, we're clearly going to be in the playoffs, but I would love to win the conference. And I think I've decided that if there was was one team I did not want to have to face in the playoffs, it would have to be Georgia. I feel fortunate that we even have 14 points at this point in the game. I think we're going to have to try and run it in on the ground, but we were tackled short. I don't trust myself to hit a field goal from this angle anyway, so we're going to go for it on 4th and goal. We're going to get the touchdown, but we still have a lot of football ahead of us in this one. Headed into the final 90 seconds of this matchup, I feel like our defense has been exposed all game, and that's not going to change there. If they score a touchdown, we're going to fall behind and we'd have to score back. That's a good tackle though. I'm not a fan of their clock management at the same time with them taking off a lot of it. They are making sure we won't have a big chance to respond, but I cannot blame them. On 3rd down, I'm there to user it. Their quarterback's going to step up and run. We can't get to him. And you all remember when change of direction wasn't a thing in video games? I felt like defense was so much more fun to play. I get it's realistic and it's not as bad on this game as it is on Madden, but it has put us in a spot where we need to clutch up in these final 33 seconds, and I threw it straight to him. You simply cannot have 3 routes going to the same spot on the field though. I don't think that's going to get above the safety's head. He's somehow able to get over there, make a play on it. We're going to lose. And it turns out this unbeatable team's not unbeatable. I think we could still get the ball back, though. So we'll see what happens. On 3rd down, they're going to run it, and they're going to take a lot of time off. What's going to happen is we're basically going to have one shot at the end zone. But if they're going to play backed off like that, I might try and get like a 5-second play out of the way where I threw it at them. To be honest, EA might have updated how teams play in the final few seconds, because earlier on in the year, they would have just sent everybody up. They would have pressed there. And so I'm glad that they made Heisman mode a little bit more challenging, but I'm not glad that we just lost the SEC championship. We simply didn't have what it took to stop Randy Boyce, and it was my first game of the day, but cut me some slack. We're playing in a super conference. We're still going to win Coach of the Year either way. I'm very curious to see who we get in the first round of the playoffs. It's Randy Boyce that won the Heisman Trophy, and it is going to be Keenan Wiggins, our running back, with 4 touchdowns, winning the Best Running Back award. Some of the awards in this game make no sense. I could see Nicholas Steven winning Best Tight End, even if he didn't have that many touchdowns with those stats. Did we get any defensive award winners? We did. Dion Garvin. And then for our playoff matchup, it's going to be 12-seeded Michigan. The 12 seed is normally so much easier. We're also not in any luck because Georgia's still on our side of the bracket. Florida State's in here. Kentucky's in here. We got Oregon in the playoffs. So lots of good teams like you would expect, but this is the best quarterback stat line we've seen yet. It makes sense for the type of season we just had. I still don't understand how Keenan Wiggins won running back of the year. And on the receiving side of things, I have noticed that Khalil Rivero is injured and he's one of our top receivers. It's not like we're dealing with that many this season, but it does stink he'll be out for the rest of the year. And I'm really just hoping that we don't end up losing back-to-back games to finish out the season. As the higher seed, we're getting to play this one at home, and they have been locking us down. But fortunately, they didn't intercept it, so we should be able to tie things up at 14. I'm not sure that's going to matter, though. I ran commit when they decided to throw it. And so the Wolverines have taken the lead back in this one. We're going to try to throw to the outside against them, but it won't work. It's really hit me that all those battles that we lost for receivers in recruiting is starting to cost us. We're not that good in through the air. But maybe if I started throwing up jump balls through the air, we'd be okay. It's going to go straight to them, though, because I just messed up that click on. There was no reason to turn it over there. I think I'm just being extremely impatient. They don't have anybody open either. I think they're going to try and scramble. We sent some dudes at them. So for a moment, I had a little bit of hope, but as you can see, they are playing us extremely well still, so we've just had to run it as much as we can. Everybody is getting clamped up by these Michigan corners. We're going to try the jump ball again, though. This is what I wanted to do the last time. Noah Witt is our one chance at success as he gets open in the end zone. He laid out for that catch, too. He put in the effort. But we have to be able to stop the Wolverines as well, and I just bit down on 3rd down where we still couldn't get to them. Is he short? He's not. I thought for sure they were not going to run the ball there, but I guess they decided that they were happy with punting it back to us if they didn't pick it up. And now we're in a really tough spot because it's looking like they're going to be able to get into field goal range as they just did. I've had no choice but to call a timeout. And I know for a fact that the computer can hit from here, which is why I sent a blitz. I will have absolutely no shame doing that again, except they've thrown us a pick. I got clicked onto somebody I didn't want to be on. And we just got so lucky because I'm pretty sure I was on a corner, which would have left somebody open. They panicked under pressure, and I also hate the alignment that they have over on our fastest receiver. I don't know why you think that you can stand looking at Noah Witt like that, but we are going to end this game here. It really does not feel like a win that we should be getting because Michigan had everything going their way. All they had to do was run the ball, not take a sack. I'm sure their kicker would have drilled a 60-yarder. It's the computer. They always do. But instead, they threw us a pick. They let Noah Witt get a huge catch for us. And we handed Michigan their 5th loss. They shouldn't have been in the playoffs anyway. The worst part is if we don't win it all this season, they'd probably be in our conference next year anyway. And as I was getting ready to take on TCU, seeing that they're an 87 overall, I also noticed that we have to hire staff. staff. We have lost our defensive coordinator. I'm going to have to search for another tactician. And it wasn't too hard to find, but this guy doesn't come with all the recruiting benefits. Because of our last coordinator, I was able to put 75 hours instead of 65 hours into a lot of defensive positions. And we have now lost that privilege, but at least we get to play TCU. It's been another slower game for our offense, but we are going to end the first half taking the lead. And I think they're about to make the same mistake that we saw last week with Michigan. Noah Witt, as long as he beats the press, is eventually going to outrun some dudes. I can't remember if he's a senior or not, but next year we would have that combined with a 99 speed receiver. At least if he got to stick around, and we are just going to go back to our tight end after missing that last throw, except he is run backwards. Not a great ending to the third quarter if we can't get this 4th and 4, but we are going to anyway. Nicholas Steven is about the best tight end that we could have ever asked for. Against better teams though, Bradbury's accuracy struggles are starting to show a lot more, which is why I've decided that we're just going to keep it on the ground. That was basically the dagger that put away TCU. They just couldn't score against us. And like I thought it would be, it was much easier than playing Michigan in the first round. Here's the thing though, we are not escaping the Gators. We're going to have to play them again. Our path in conference play's not been easy. Our path to a championship is far from easy, but I can't argue with a great opportunity to redeem ourselves. I'm still going in with the same playbook I've been using. It is South Alabama's, by the way. But what I've figured out about it is there's about 5 plays that I really enjoy, and then the rest of them aren't that great. I also just use coach suggestions though, so they'll run like the same 15 to 20 plays over and over. That's a good throw. But it was about the only one of this half, and that's accounting for both teams. We have not had great offensive games. You could say that we shouldn't be going for this on 4th and 1, but I have yet to have this halfback toss play fail me. And the longer that we get into this game, the nicer that those points would have been for us. On a 3rd and 18, we're not going to make it to the marker, but we should be able to kick a field goal to make sure that we go back up by 7. We just have to drill it. I don't mind being in the position that we're in, especially since we've stopped their quarterback a lot better in this game. But that is only because I figured out Randy Boyce's weakness, sending in a lot of dudes at him, except their motion over to having somebody get to that side of the field left him open. I think the problem there was that was supposed to be my man. They've utilized motions again, and they're not going anywhere. But are we going to be able to stop them on 3rd and 9? I can't get to the ball. We got some high overall, but slow linebackers out there on the field. There's no way our tight end just outran their fastest players. Their defensive backs can't keep up with Steven. That was a blessing, that's for sure, but only if we can stop them on 3rd and 9. I know that they're probably going to want to go short. We've generated no pressure at all, and it's not looking very good for us, though we have been able to run in and sack their QB. I went straight up the A-gap. That's probably one of the more satisfying things you can do on the defensive side of the ball. Don't take your check down. I guess you can have that one. Make it a 4th and manageable. But I am prepared to put him under pressure again. If they hand it off, we're going to stop them. We might actually beat Georgia now. We just have to run for a first. And that was not a very good start. All I'm saying is we better not end up getting a safety versus the Bulldogs. Our running backs are certainly not as elusive as I would like them to be, but they thought they could run commit. I don't know why they assumed that we were going to run the ball. We had to pass for it to end this game, and that is exactly what we are doing. It would have been smarter to just fall over and take a knee, but I was celebrating. We're still going to close it out. And we are 1 win away from Duvon Bradbury winning this team a championship. I'll be honest, I was skeptical. I doubted this Florida A&M squad, but especially now seeing that Bill Belichick and his 24-year-old girlfriend took down the Ducks, I think we got a great chance to win this. You know, the more that comes out about that, I gotta say, I don't feel bad for Bill at all. In fact, I completely understand it. That girl is clearly crazy, but it is a fun cycle to be in. Even if they're a bit psychotic, it gives some excitement to life. He probably feels like he's in his 20s again. I think there's a lot of guys out there that have dated crazy that can really relate to that. I am one of those, or maybe I'm alone. Either way, they're both adults. Is the age gap weird? Very weird, but I'm not in the business of telling people what they can and can't do. Everyone else can live their life, and I'll just live my life in peace. Here we go. Field goal. Take the lead to start the game. That's what we need. I am coming for Bill Belichick here. I want to get this win more than him. I want to lead Florida A&M to that national championship. And it is safe to say that this Rattlers team was just not a match for the Tar Heels. I don't know how they made it this far. We've certainly played a harder game in this stadium against USF instead of against North Carolina. They haven't even gotten a touchdown. They tried to in the final 20 seconds, but they couldn't. We have taken Florida A&M to a national championship. It honestly didn't take that long. I thought the process was going to take us a bit, but these recruits out of Florida were built differently. And to be honest, even though teams like Georgia and Oregon stayed in this conference the entire video, the Super Conference turned out to not be that difficult because some of the other teams that got into the top 25 were just below average. They climbed up the polls in their weaker conferences, allowing Devon Bradbury to really shine in his one season for the Rattlers. But I think this was the time to do it with all these players that were 90 plus overalls with the tactician boost either graduating or declaring for the NFL draft. That was genuinely one of the craziest 2-year come-ups I think I have had in a rebuild. And if there's any other FCS schools you want to see me rebuild, if you want to see me rebuild your school, give me a good concept for it and I might end up considering it before we get to college football 26.